what I think about the left or the satirists, whatever, is they are now the establishment in Britain. They have this establishment kind of sneery view of the world. The country is not on the right trajectory. It's going in completely the wrong direction. And yet what they want to do is try and take apart anybody that tries to fix it. Yeah. So this is why I'm not interested in what they've got to say.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Because I know who they are. They are part of the problem.
Someone like, there's Starmer, of course, and what do you think about, Peter Hitchens was saying Starmer's actually further left of Corbyn?
I don't think that's true, particularly.
Yeah, Corbyn's pretty
left. I think Starmer is, he's actually if you look at what Blair tried to do with the Constitution, creation of the Supreme Court, veneration of human rights, Starmer was part of that in the 90s. That he's a kind of continuum of that sort of philosophy.
With less charisma.
Yeah.
True. Just nothing.
But I think, I don't know if Corbyn's more of a Democrat, but I think Starmer's a believer in the technocracy. He believes lawyers know best, technocrats know best, the people don't know best. Whereas I think, funnily enough, I think Corbyn's actually more of a populist.
Yeah. No, I think that sounds about right, actually. Do the royals have any sway? Was Queen Elizabeth II saying anything to you like, look, just make sure to sort out this migrant problem?
Well, they have. I can't go into my final audience, but she was very across every issue facing Britain. It's fair to say, but they are there to have audiences give advice, but I wouldn't overstate it. I mean, this in terms of who runs Britain, it's the unelected bureaucracy that have far more influence.
Yeah, I can imagine that. The moment that you knew you would have to step down, how did that feel for you emotionally as a human?
I was very so I'm somebody who I'm a very positive person, as discussed, and I wanted to get things on the right trajectory. So when I was forced to reverse the policies, which I absolutely hated doing, and I only did it because it was a gun to my head, I was literally threatened.
Literally threatened.
With that, not with a gun.
Metaphorically with a gun.
It was a metaphor with a gun.
Putting it in the trailer. I was literally threatened with a gun.
I was threatened with a gun. That's it. But the point is, there's a gun put in my head saying, if I didn't reverse these policies, they feared that we would not be able to fund our debt. So we'd have been in an IMF-style 1976 crisis. Now, I believe this was manufactured, i.e. by the sort of the economic establishment, the chattering classes, etc. But nevertheless, I thought it was a genuine threat. And it was at that point when I'd gone into politics, I'd run to be Prime Minister because I wanted to change things. I didn't want to be there as some kind of patsy of the bureaucracy, just spouting out what they told me to say. So by that point, I already felt, I was in a very difficult position. And that's why I had to go.
And how does that feel?
Bad. It felt bad. It was very, It was very... I think it was upsetting on two levels. One is obviously just losing the job, very upsetting. But also just I had believed that I could change things within the system that we had. So I'd spent my political career. We wrote a book back in 2012 called Britannia Unchained about what needed to happen to make our country great again. I'd risen up through the ministerial ranks. I'd done the trade deals. So I believed that things could be changed by getting into that job. So I was also, and maybe this is back to your point about being sad, I was sad that that was not possible, and that things that I thought were difficulties that had to be overcome were actually insurmountable blocks that needed to be dynamited.
Was your husband a great strength in that moment for you?
He was, yeah, and he said that this is back when I ran for the leadership. He said, you do realise this is just going to be massively difficult and a massive load of trouble. So he sort of predicted it. I'm on the optimistic side.
Optimistic.
He's a bit more. Yeah, but
he's more like
if
me.
You're not optimistic, you never go for these things.
Yeah, you have to be.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Are
you a crier?
Yeah, it's like a bit of a crier. I cry. I'm not like a pathological crier.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine the moment, not in a sort of psychopathic, tell me about your tears, but just trying to understand the human, because we don't with politicians, even more than footballers who are throwing tomatoes at and things. I think with politicians, it's very much like, especially, look, sometimes they bring it on themselves because they do act like these sort of robots, but I don't think you do.
But the thing about the robot thing is that, when you're a government minister, you have to follow the line of collective responsibility. And that is just very difficult because you're constantly self-checking. Like, have I said something that's gone beyond this line, gone beyond that line? So that is where the robot thing comes from quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other people, I guess, who just don't know anything, so they have to be robots because they're just reciting stuff. But I think a lot of it is... And I think that there is a ludicrous amount of focus on politicians who don't necessarily have that much power. Like, why is the Bank of England not being properly scrutinised for printing vast amounts of money, creating a huge wave of inflation? They've only got one job, which is to control inflation, and they failed at it. Oh, actually, there are other jobs, financial stability, and they failed at that in 2022. But there's no kind of worrying about, Andrew Bailey and is he wooden or whatever, or has he done a bad interview? So this is all part of a symptom of a system that doesn't work. And politicians get treated a bit as panto characters. The thing about, it was Andrew Gwynn and the WhatsApp group, and isn't he awful, throw him off stage. And that's the way it's treated. And I find that very depressing, not because I'm a fan of his, but because there's serious things wrong with our country. We're talking about the fact there are people trying to impose Sharia law in our country. Yeah. We're poorer than Mississippi. We might have energy blackouts, and yet so much of the mainstream media is just dominated by what is basically panto.
That does seem to be the case, and you're absolutely right. These are the issues, and I get very frustrated because a criticism labelled at me is the podcast.
You see, you shouldn't go searching for yourself on the internet.
I love the singer.
Now we've found out what the problem is.
I love the singer Andrew Gold. It was from the 80s. Did you know he had some pop songs? It was his same name as mine, and so
I know that one, Gold by Spandau Ballet.
The people sing that at me. Gold, always believe in yourself. I get all the time. So people say, and they sing Andrew Gold's songs as well. He's the guy with my name, but he died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, his widow contacted me. He was like quite a big name, and he worked with the Beatles and people like that. And his widow got in touch, just saying like, hello, I see you have my my husband. Is it a widow as well? With a man? Yeah,
it's a widow.
My widow's name. Nice to meet you. And I said, oh, hello. And that was that. It was a weird thing about this sort of nominative determinism. But yeah, people label that criticism at me in this podcast that it's a distraction, the culture wars. It's all just a bit of a distraction because they don't really want to face the facts that this is about, as you say.
It's civilizational. It's civilizational.
Yeah. It's really scary. And we're getting just people taking silly pops at you and pantomime and the whole the politics of it all. It's just mad.